What if you could help others to find the power to heal themselves? Physically, emotionally, and spiritually.
When I started teaching my classes, it was in 2002, and I was just doing the past life regressions and contacting the subconscious part. But then as the time went on and we found how powerful this was and what we could do with it, a lot of the students began saying, you know, advanced past life regression doesn't really tell what it's all about. This is so much more than that. We think you should change the name. So it was a few years ago we decided to change the name to Quantum Healing Hypnosis Technique. And this is the healing technique that we've now been teaching it, well, since 2002, that's 12 years.
What if you could time travel with them? Visit mythical places or angelic realms, other worlds, other galaxies. Help others to speak to their higher selves. You can. Dolores has taught thousands of people from across the world how to use QHHT, and now you can learn her method by going directly to dolorescannon.com. And don't forget to mention the discount code MORETALKS.
Established over 100 years ago, Watkins Books is one of the world's oldest and leading independent bookshops specializing in esoterica. We have the widest selection of esoteric books in the UK, and our friendly and knowledgeable staff are here to assist you in a unique ambience of our shop. So come and visit us in the heart of London as we're open every day.
The comments and views expressed on The More Show are those of the people that make them and do not necessarily reflect the view of Kevin Moore, The More Show, or this radio station and its affiliate or sponsors. This show is for entertainment purposes only.
Broadcasting from the UK and across the world online. You're now watching the UK's only alternative late-night talk show, and I'm your host, Kevin Moore. For the next hour, I'll be covering subjects that will open up your mind and provide you with information you may have never heard before. On today's show, I'm joined with Alex B. Raco, who specialises in anxiety and mood disorders. Now, he also earns a postgraduate degree in clinical psychology, and his education includes professional training in clinical hypnosis. Now, he's the follower of Dr. Brian Weiss and attended the professional past life regression therapy training at the Omega Institute for Holistic Studies in New York. Now, Alex has an M.B.A. degree, and before dedicating himself to past life regression, he worked as an executive for several multinational companies. It's Never the End is his first book and is based on true stories. Alex Raco, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Kevin. Thank you for having me here. Thank you to all the people who are following you and me in this very moment.
It's I find these interviews in past life regression absolutely fascinating. The nature of the soul, the nature of who we truly are as well. I thank you for the work that you're doing as well on behalf of humanity, definitely. And it's a fascinating book, this. It's Never the End, Past Lives, Present Destiny, Regression Therapy following the teachings of Dr. Brian Weiss. Oh, God, so many questions just come from that title. So firstly, okay, where are you based right now as we do this interview?
I'm just 60 miles away from Barcelona in Spain, on the coast.
Okay. Now, you've travelled extensively across the world, haven't you?
Yeah, I've been living in quite a few places, mostly Italy and the US.
Yes, absolutely. And your practice is currently based in Spain right now.
Yes, it's in Barcelona, correct.
Absolutely. Okay. Um, let's just learn a bit about yourself as well, because in the synopsis of the book, I was reading that you had a career in the corporate world. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct. About 10 years ago, when I met for the first time Dr. Brian Weiss at one of his seminars, I was just there by chance. And now I know that chance does not exist. I just had the way to prove it myself. But at the time, I thought, that was pure chance, because a friend of mine, her mother died in July of that year, and I was in Milan. She lives in Milan. I was in Milan for Christmas, and I said, okay, let's go and see Patrizia. That's the name of my friend. And I go have dinner with her husband, and at the end of the night, she just was sitting down on the sofa talking about, everything. And she pops out to me with a book, Many Lives, Many Masters, from Dr. Brian Weiss. And she says, have you read this book? And I'm like, no, what is it? Oh, well, it's from like a very world-renowned psychiatrist. He studied at Yale, at Columbia. And I was like, oh, wow, interesting. And she was like, he deals with past life regression therapy. And I was like, oh, good, interesting. And I was like, really smiling inside of me, but I couldn't smile in her face because I thought that was totally dumb. That was absolutely unbelievable at the time. Yeah. And then I left her house, and I remember I was just in my car. I was heading back home in Milan at the hotel where I was staying. And I was like, okay, she must have gone crazy for whatever reason. I don't know. Her mother died. She went crazy because possibly, she's just sad. She's asking for answers. This cannot be true. And that was actually what I felt. I didn't believe any of this. Until 10 years ago, I was working in the corporate world. I worked for Procter & Gamble. I worked for Sara Lee. I worked for Walt Disney, for very big multinationals. And and at that time, that was just not a subject of my interest. I don't believe in that. Then I went back to Barcelona. I was already living here. And one night, I was at my computer and I was like, okay, let's see this Dr. Weiss, who he is, what he does, because this is so weird. I can't believe my friend, she's a veterinarian, she's a doctor, she's a very scientific person. I'm like, how can she believe all this? All this? I mean, this is so crazy. And so I went to, on the PC, I went on Dr. Weiss's website, and I was like, okay, he's a psychiatrist, he's a board-certified psychiatrist. He really studied at Yale in Columbia. And I'm like, okay, he's been like chief emeritus of board of directors of the Mount Sinai Hospital in Miami in psychiatry. I was like, okay, this guy has the credentials. So what's wrong? This cannot be true. And I looked at his face. It was a picture of him in his website, and I was like, okay, well, he doesn't look like, these people, this showman or people who are really, they have an image and they can...
That's right.
He was like very, very simple. And I was like, okay, how can people believe in this? How can they believe in this guy? And then I looked at the event sections of his website that night, and I discovered that the only event in Europe that year was in Barcelona just 4 days or 5 days after that night. And I was like, okay, weird coincidence. This is so weird. So I said, okay, you know what? I'm going to go to this event because I looked on the website and I saw that there was a book signing. So I said, okay, I'm going to buy a book and have it signed and dedicated to my friend Patrizia. Just, as an act of regard to her, for love. So I went and I met him. He signed the book and I was like, okay, this guy is really, something good about him, good vibes. I felt at peace. I don't know, just 1 minute. And then the following day, I remember I was in the Barcelona forum, like 1,000 people. And he talked about the subject a little bit, and I was like, okay, yeah, right, past lives. And I was looking at the people around me, and I was thinking, okay, these people are crazy. And then he started doing a past life regression, a group regression, and he started guiding people from the stage. And so I said, okay, let's do it. Let's just try it for curiosity's sake. And then something weird happened, because my hands just they started moving by themselves. And I was like, okay, what's happening? I was following the instruction with my eyes closed, and I was like, oh, what's happening? This is so weird. My hands are moving alone. And I started like seeing myself as a woman in London in 1832, if I remember right. And I was having an abortion. I was having a miscarriage. I was like, this is so weird. It was like blood and stuff. And I was like, this cannot be like my imagination. And it wasn't. This is how it all started, basically, about 10 years ago.
That's absolutely incredible. Now, this was, is this as Sophie? Is that who you was in that life?
Yes. He asked for the name, and I just knew my name was Sophie. And I was like, okay, good, Sophie. Yeah, I'm not a woman. I'm 30. And I'm in London, and it's 1832. Weird, 1836, if I'm not wrong.
Now that's so interesting. Now, what was it that particular life came through to heal something in this life? What did you need healing from that past life? Because that's what seems to come through when you go for a regression. It seems to be a life that's causing an issue in this life.
Exactly. I didn't know at the time. I didn't even think about it. I went back home the following day. I was like having coffee in my terrace, and I was like, because at that time I had a huge apartment with a nice terrace. I had more money because I was an executive. And I was on my terrace, I was like sipping coffee, and I was like, okay, I'm not really worried about death anymore. It's like, I think we don't die. It's true. And I was like part of myself. It was coming from inside. It wasn't something I was cognitively realizing or projecting. And then I said, good. And I was feeling good. Then a couple of weeks passed. And I was suffering from a very serious disease. I had been suffering for more than 10 years from Crohn's disease, which is an autoimmune inflammatory disease in the gut, in the intestine. And in about 2 or 3 weeks, my symptoms just disappeared. I started eating anything I wanted and not feeling sick. But I didn't realize that was due to the regression. It was like 2 or 3 weeks after that. And I said, okay, what's going on? 10 years of taking anti-inflammatory drugs. And now it's just gone away in 2 or 3 weeks. And then I realized that the area of the body where, as a Sophie, I had the miscarriage was the same area that was really suffering in this lifetime, in Alex's lifetime, from Crohn's disease. And then I realized at that time, it was like 2 or 3 weeks after that I knew I was getting better because of that.
That is incredible, isn't it? Oh yes. My God.
It's still incredible after 10 years, and many other people, hundreds of people that I treated personally. Every time, it's still incredible. It's just, I have goosebumps. And
yeah, just a bit. Okay. So how quickly did you then, from that period of that exploration, then go into becoming certified under Dr. Weiss? Because I believe you went to did you go to New York to actually do one of his courses to be trained?
Yes. I did his professional training course at the Omega Institute in New York with Brian and Carol Weiss, his wife.
Wow. Now there's a guy that's done so much great work in this field, and training people like yourselves with a passion to want to go and help other people and, pursue this work, because it's a lifetime's worth of work, isn't it? And now you're contributing through this wonderful book even more information.
Thank you for asking, because this is exactly the purpose of my book, to give out like a skeptical, an outside perspective, the one I had of something so beautiful, something so great, so immense as what Brian is doing with, passing this message of love, having people realize that we don't die, having people realize that we have a higher self, that it's just not, everything doesn't end here, And I wanted to give my contribution, and I wanted to tell my story because it's a story that other people could possibly relate to. Because if you're skeptical, if you really don't believe in that, maybe I can help in that sense. Maybe I can tell you I was skeptical and then something magical happened.
Did you find your life's purpose when you came across this work, do you think, when you realized this is the destiny, this is what you're here to do?
Yes. I totally feel it. It's not a work, it's not a job. Absolutely, it's a mission. It's something that comes from inside. The very following day, after that group regression, after the seminar, I went home. I was sipping coffee, as I said, and one thing that I knew for sure was that I had to help other people. And that message came through the masters, what Brian calls the masters, but that can vary. That could be like, we can call them guardian angels, we can call them masters, we can call them higher self. I mean,
just words.
Yes, just words.
So when you say that came through, was it like just a voice that came to you? Was it your voice? Was it a separate voice? Was it? How did you know that information?
I would say it was telepathic. It wasn't my voice, and I wasn't really hearing a voice, but I knew that was the message. It would come just from inside of me.
Why do you think you were ready at that time to hear what your destiny was going to be? Why do you what was it aligned in your life at that time to hear that message, I wonder?
At that time, I didn't realize. I didn't know. Now, I mean, looking back, I might tell you that I had a very materialistic life. I had everything that people in this world is looking for. I had quite a successful career. I had enough money. I had a relationship. My life was just, a dream life. So probably I was ready, because nowadays, dedicating my life to others, I know I'm not missing that much. I know I had that. That doesn't really pay off as much, And maybe if I didn't go through all that, I wouldn't have this sort of attitude nowadays, I think.
Well, thank you very much for that answer, and for all the wonderful information that you've given us, because I think it can only inspire people to, when they get that calling, when they know that this is what they're meant to be in alignment with doing, that they just, you've just got to listen to that quiet whisper sometimes, that quiet voice from within. And I think purpose, it's really the journey to it, as in this is your journey documented in this wonderful book and all these wonderful clients. And these are just some stories. These aren't all the stories. These are just a few stories, aren't they, that you're sharing?
Yeah, there's just a few. There's many more. Luckily, there's like almost 1,000 so far. And yes. But I tried to, in the book, I tried to put stories that could be different, one from the other, that could pass different messages, that could really give that skeptical reader something his left brain can process, which is what I needed at that time, maybe. It would have been easier for me if I had a book like this, because I was skeptical. My left brain, my rational brain, was like 99% of it. And nowadays I know it's not really how things work.
No.
Thank God.
No. Do you feel that, when you're only coming from the head, as well as, and maybe from selfishness as well, whatever it may be, that really, in the end, it may take a few lives, maybe, and this is your life to come out of that space, but when you combine the head with listening to the heart and intuition, then you're on the path to what you truly came here for, and happiness and everything else comes with it. That's not to say life's not going to test you, because it will. That's part of this reality, but you are in alignment with purpose then when you listen to that.
Yes, you're totally right. You used the one word that I really love, the word intuition. I think we all have that. We all can connect to our higher self. It's not that difficult. The past life regression is just one of the possibility that a person, a human being, has to relate to his higher self. And intuition is the magic word. Intuition is what really connects with our soul. Okay, I call it soul, but you can give it to it several words or denominations, but let's call it soul. We can connect with our soul through intuition, as you said, and we all have it. It's just we need to nurture it, we need to listen to it, we need to trust it. Always trust intuition, because your intuition is never wrong, because your intuition is your soul speaking.
Absolutely. And why do you think we come down here with such a veil over us to not remember, the connection of our soul, that we are the soul, not the body? Why do you think that is? Is that so that we can have experience on this level?
It's a very interesting question. Thank you for asking, because it's something that many of us really wonder about. I think we come here not remembering because the soul needs to experience at the human level. The human level gives us the physical level, the five senses, and we can experience through the five senses new lessons, new situations, and that will really help our soul grow, help our soul understand things. It's just an experience we need to do, and if we would remember everything, we would be biased. We would know too much. We don't need to know that much in this human lifetime. We need to experience it. We need to live it. We need to fully live it in every single moment, because it's a gift. Life is a gift, and it's the most wonderful gift. And even the soul, even our higher self, really enjoys it. It's enjoyable. We need to enjoy life. It's beautiful.
Yes. And that's so important. Enjoying life is part of the process. It doesn't need to be so difficult. We always do it the most difficult way, don't we?
Yeah, that's the brain's fault. That's the ego, the ego Buddhist definition of ego, or the brain, if you want, that continuously thinks and rethinks about stuff. This ruminative thinking, it's called in a technical way. It's just thoughts that go on and on and on and on in your brain. What our brain does, basically, it's move our attention all the time from the past to the future, from the past to the future. Regrets, worries, anxiety, and regrets. Why? Because it's a wonderful machine. It's just a biological machine. And this is like one topic I talk extensively about in my book, and the role of the ego, the role of the brain. And I always tell people when I come to see me, you're not your brain. You're not your brain. Your brain is a machine you have in your head. It's a biological machine, very useful, splendid. But you're not your brain. It's not you. And I think that's the cause of the problem, because if we identify ourselves with our brain, with our thinking, then problems arise. Then we start acting in a way we don't really feel, in a way that's not really compatible with our intuition or our soul or our path. And why do we do it? Because this machine is inside our head. This machine is useful. This machine produces every day 60,000 thoughts. 60,000 a day. Okay? And most of these thoughts come from themselves. We don't just intentionally think about it. They come by themselves. And problem is that, why do they come, first of all? They come because the brain has to help us in dealing with situations. So it will be really good for us, for example, to know that a particular route, if we're driving, is more difficult than another. So our brain will say, okay, take the other route. Fine, that's a good thinking. That's something I need that might help me. Sometimes brain just produces thoughts. sometimes these thoughts just come randomly. We have to be able to understand what's useful, what we need, and what we don't, and be able to acknowledge and discard what we don't need. Not take it as it coming from our own self, from our own intuition. That's not it. The brain is not the intuition. It's two different things.
Yes, yes, and thank you for that. It's a good reminder, and just very briefly as well. Have you found that when you trust going with your purpose, going with your joy, that life has taken care of you, that you've been provided for, and that you can be wealthy and everything else if you so choose to want to experience that as well. You can have all the things that you wish to desire. You can have. It's what you choose to pull towards you.
Yes, definitely. We have the power of producing reality. Our thoughts are a way, not the brain's thoughts, but our genuine inner thoughts, the desires. If we desire something, we're asking the universe to produce it. And if that's something that we ask for, it's something that's not good only for us, but good for other people, the universe has all the interest in making that happen, because we're all connected, we're all the same, we're part of the same huge, big family.
That's so true.
If I desire something from someone else, in a way, I'm helping myself already. And the universe is really, really helpful in that way, because things really can happen magically, and we think, okay, this is magic, this cannot be true. When that happens, it's because there's a higher meaning, when there's a higher objective, when you're not thinking about yourself only. If you desire things just for yourself or to harm other people, I don't think that will happen. I don't think the universe will help you. Pretty sure about that.
I totally agree with you. I do. I think there's got to be a bigger purpose to help people there. Whatever you do has got to be of service, and I do believe that's the key. And I think when you come from that space, it makes it so much happier as well with what you do. And that doesn't matter what you do. You could do any job if it's there to be of service, and as long as you're causing no harm to yourself.
Yes, this is so true. Thank you for saying it, because another thing that's really important that I realize, and I want people to realize that it's really good, is that if you're able to help just one person in your lifetime, that's already a lot. You don't need to help 1 million people. Of course, if you have 1 million people, I'm fine. I'm not saying it's not necessary. It's probably good. But just by helping one person, the act of love is just happening. And that's what we're all made of. We're made of love. That I see in every single regression that I guide. People know exactly what we're made of, what the soul is made of. It's made of love.
Yes, and the soul is in its essence not violent. It's not greedy. It's kind. It's compassionate. Now it seems to be that when we come down here, the more kinder we can be, the more compassionate, the less violent, less greedy, more loving we can be. These are traits that expand our soul, expand out to other people. These are the natural tendencies to want to feel this way. Any way from that is not our natural state, but yet we choose to be soldiers in ISIS. We choose to gun down 5 people in Dallas. We choose to kill 50 gay people in a nightclub because we disagree. We choose all these things, and life lets us choose. And it seems to be as well that we in past lives have been murderous, rapists, greedy, horrible people, yet the soul is hungry for these experiences. And it seems to be that there's no limits to what you can pre-choose before you come down here. Isn't it very difficult to get this in your head sometimes?
It is extremely difficult. Yes. I'm going to say something that might, make you think, or make people think, might look or sound weird what I'm going to say, but no soul is evil. There's no such a concept. Souls are made of love. Even a soul of a person killing 50 people, or a mercenary soldier, even these people's souls are made of love. They're just love. They're just incarnation of souls that are having an experience. They have to pass through that. We all have to do it. I'm not saying, obviously, on a human point of view, from our material human level, this is bad, obviously. I mean, they're punished, and of course, I'm not saying you need to go out and do bad, obviously. But what I'm saying is that during our lifetime, we all have been bad people also. Because by being bad, by being evil, we learn what love is about. We learn that suffering that our actions might produce for evil on other people, we learn. And we might come back and experience it ourselves.
Yes, absolutely. It makes sense. It feels right to me. It feels right to me because I feel from what you're saying as well is that imagine the ripple effects. Now, this is horrible to say this in one sense, but I'm saying it from a non-judgmental spiritual side. I'm kind of saying it from looking, almost being on the other side of the veil and thinking, well, if there's agreements made before we come down here, that if I, agree to be the murderer and you agree to be the victim in a sense, you look at all the ripple effect of all the families that ripple effects goes out to, the compassion that they have to feel, the forgiveness in their life that they have to go through to the killer. It's not just the person and the immediate people, it's also the ripple effect of people in general, the sorrow that they feel for the situation. You see how vast it is that one person does these things, and it just expands into everyone else's lives. And without that, then they'd never feel this way.
Yes.
Now, did they have to feel it that way at all? Could it not just be complete bliss? Well, I always think, well, maybe if it was a complete bliss, then we'd be back home. It's not supposed to be that way. This is a reality of opposites, and there's hot and there's cold, and this is how you learn.
Yes, it's a big school. We all go to the same school. Well, Hurt is just one of the possible schools, and it's the one we're in right now. It's the one we're practicing in. And what you're saying is totally right. There's an agreement. Before coming here, we agree on what we're going to do in our lifetime. So that ripple effect that you're talking about makes sense. It gives other people the opportunity of learn love, of learn respect, of learn compassion, of learning kindness. Actually, it's not just one man's lesson. We're all connected. We're all part of a big family, and even in we have like a Hurt terrenal family, and we have like a bigger family out there. And we're all, our family, it's, from what I saw, what I'm talking about obviously has to do with what I experienced as a therapist with listening to the stories of other people,
yes,
myself. And what I learned is that our family on Earth might be like a few people, or 10 people, or 15 people, or 20 people. Our family in heaven is probably made of several hundreds of people or thousands of people. So that gives us the opportunity of coming back again and again together to see other people. If we talk about, for example, the old topic of soulmates, that's really interesting because most of people are interested in this idea of, coming back and meeting again the loved ones. Yeah, this happens. This happens not only with the loved ones, but also with other people, member of our families. Just because we're here to learn a lesson. One time we come and we're evil. The time after we're good, compassionate. The following time we might be a doctor, and the other one we're a soldier. That's just a big, big school, and it's enjoyable. The message is that whatever happens to you, good or evil, everything is good. Everything is love.
Yes, it seems to be that probably even the taste of milk chocolate is just as important on the side that we go back to those on that side, as it is, some of the bigger things that we go through. It's so important that this experience that we're having now to so many other souls on the other side. I call it the other side. It's here in front of us right now. I don't believe heaven as being up in the sky, or even the word heaven is the wrong word. I call it home. That's not even the right word. It's just our true nature of the space where we come from. And it's I keep saying to myself that the reality of where we go to has probably never been written correctly in any books that exist out there, because the framework is just undescribable. We have a framework that we think it might be, but that's probably not even a truth. It's just a truth for us now.
Correct. I think you grasped exactly the essence. And as an author of a book, I can tell you that that's exactly the case. It's really difficult because sometimes I have a person, and this person is, doing a regression, and they're experiencing death. They die, and I ask him, "What do you feel? What is death like? How do you feel like over there?" And most of times, they're not able to express it in words. They say, "This is something I never experienced. It's too much." And that's exactly what you're saying. We can't express in words, we can't express in images, we can't express in any human way what's home like. And I agree with you. I call it home also, because that's where we come from. That's where we go back, and at home when we feel love, it's our home. Yeah.
It's incredible, isn't it? I bet even to try to condense your work in this 1 hour, I'm trying my best here to get some of the good things out. There's going to be loads we miss as well, and I'll kick myself for it. But there's so much vastness to your work, and we're barely touching any surface stuff here, right? But there's one thing we've got here is time, and on that side, I'm guessing there's no time. Everything's happening at once, past, present, and future.
Yeah. Yes. Very. You're obviously you know a lot about the subject, so you're asking a perfect question. So you don't have to worry. You're using the time in a fantastic way.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Alex. Thank you. And one thing you mentioned as well is that you kept referring to this, that we are all connected, and with what your work does is show us a way forward in life, a solution, which is that just your work proves that we are all connected. So knowing that we're connected, why are we being so horrible to each other? Why do we not see ourselves as family? If we only realize the connection that we all have, we wouldn't do these atrocities to each other. Because I believe as well that yes, there's pre-birth planning, as your work will prove as well, but there's something called destiny and free will. Yes, we've bumped into our soulmate, but with free will, or the lover that we've got now, or a potential situation where we can palm someone, but there's free will what we do with it. So we have to take responsibility as well, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. We have to. It's a combination. There's destiny on one side. I'm sure we'll end up where we need to end up. And in that case, destiny is something that's really practical. That if we need to do this, if we need to learn this lesson in this lifetime, we will. How we get there, that's another story. That's the free will, and that's our option. That's what we can do and change. We have to take full responsibility for that. It's really, really important, because as you said before, we're not only responsible for ourselves, we're responsible for other people, for other souls. So we're just part of the same family. And the problem, we don't recognize that. Of course we don't, because there's identification with the ego, identification with the brain. Imagine a baby. I describe this usually. Imagine a baby coming to life. The first 6 months, and this is proven, this is scientific. First 6 months of a baby's lifetime, the baby's there. He's like, oh, mommy, daddy, and the room. Everything is the same. It's just a sea of love in that baby's eyes. And he's right. That's that's what it is. I mean, there's no separation from one person to the other. Even if we talk about it from the physical point of view, if you break the particles that make our body, for example, into smaller particles, you get to a proton, you get to a fermion, which is the smallest particle. That particle is common to every sort of matter. That means it's common to my skin, to the air, and to your skin. That means there's no separation, even physically. Not only, even in the physical world, we're not separated. And the baby knows. The baby gets here, and he knows. Then what happens? The machine starts working. The machine is useful. I'm not saying the brain is not useful. What I'm saying is that we're not our brains. We need to use it. It's something that we might use, not something that has to use us. And that's what happens when we do evil things. It's the machine using us. It's the machine telling us that, I call it the machine. That sounds crazy, but it's a biological machine. It's a computer we have in our head, really. And so 6 months of age, the baby starts realizing that moving his hands, he controls the movement. So he knows he ends here, but that's illusion because we don't end here, as I just said. The brain creates identification. By creating identification with the body, creates separation. And that's the problem. That's why we hurt other people, because we think they're not part of us. That's a big mistake because they are. So by hurting other people, we're actually hurting ourselves. And that's physical.
So true. And do you think as well that when we go, I mean, we've talked about going, our purpose and going off course. One question I wanted to ask you from that was, do you think we betray ourselves when we are not in alignment with what we should be doing, or when we when we're off course totally because we're not listening to that inner voice? Do you think we betray ourselves?
Totally. I think we're betraying ourselves. I think we're betraying our souls. I think we're betraying others. That's why when you mention intuition, that's the easiest thing. That's what I want to pass to the people who are watching us. Trust your intuition. Your intuition is usually right, what you really feel. And your intuition is, most of times, is towards others. It's good. This is true for everyone. The evil comes from the thinking. The evil comes from thinking you're separate. The evil comes from thinking your good is someone else's problem. No, it doesn't work this way. The universe is infinite. I can have everything, and you can have it too. That's the thing. And most people think that's not possible.
Yeah, no, I do believe in that, and I think sometimes there's a bit of there's the right timing for that to happen as well. I think there's these things that we want aren't always instantaneous. Some of the bigger things, and I think it's just being alignment with going in the right direction to get there. Just enjoy the journey of getting there as well. I think I've missed out on that part a lot. And again, you're never too old to come back to your spiritual path as well, are you?
No, you're not. And I wanted to add one thing, because usually it's very easy to say life is a gift, and we can have everything, we can be happy. Many people are living a life that's full of suffering, full of violence. No, you just look at the news on TV every day, and you see a lot of suffering. You see and even in everyday life, and people you get to know, there's people who really are suffering. They have tough lives. So what we really need to know also is that a tough life sometimes is a life that we choose to help other people understand love. Sometimes we come in a difficult lifetime on purpose, because our soul, and this is a choice that most advanced soul, if we can use that word, because there's no soul better than other soul, but most souls that have learned during a lifetime, they come back in a difficult life, because by doing that, they can help other people. They can help them grasp love. And it's important to say, because a difficult lifetime is not a curse. It's not a punishment. It's an opportunity. And oftentimes we choose it, and our soul chooses the difficult lifetime.
Yes, yes, that's a very important point you're making there, actually. Yeah, and sometimes not to be don't never be envious of people as well, in the sense that you may see they're having such an easy life. You just don't know what they got up to in a past life and how difficult multiple past lives may have been for them.
Yeah, you don't even know actually what they're going through in this lifetime, because you're just looking at people from the outside. You don't, if you look at the people from another person from the outside, you can't really know what they're experiencing. To you, they might look happy, wealthy, and they have this splendid life, but inside they might be suffering. We don't know exactly. We don't need to judge. We don't need to be envious. Envy is so human. Envy is so part of the ego. Envy is something that I really thank God, because it's a feeling that I never experienced, never been envious. And I think that envy has to do with the path of the soul. I think if you realize that you're part of something bigger, that you're the same as others, we're all one, you can't be envious. How can you be envious of yourself? It doesn't make any sense.
No. And I want this interview to really inspire people to really get in contact with what they feel that is of purpose to them, that they would love to do. And even if they're not too sure as well, it will come to you. You've just got to be open that you're going to find it, and it's going to come to you. And maybe what you're doing now is a path to discover that. Don't ever think it's not. Don't ever be so hard on yourself, and anything else. It's a journey, isn't it? It's going forward all the time. If you're going forward, then you're on the right course.
Definitely. If I think about myself, this happened when I turned 39. I mean, up until 39 years old, I didn't have an idea. And so you have to be open. Yes, that's the word. That's the thing. Be open, because there's a lot more than you can imagine, and it's beautiful. It's love. Evil does not exist in home, as you say, and in the other side, there's no evil. It doesn't exist. And one thing that oftentimes people ask me is precisely, they talk about like evil spirits and stuff like that. And I was like, no, it's nonsense. There's no such thing. That's another phenomenon. There's nothing to do with that. And there's no evil spirit. They don't exist.
No, there may be spirits which are just hanging around because they're a bit lost, in a sense. And if you call that evil, well, I think it's just a misunderstanding completely. I don't think as even that's evil. Maybe even a spirit that's been lost in a particular situation or has not moved on is just a future life aspect meeting a past life aspect. And that's where the attachment is.
Yes, precisely. And it's something really good, because this I see, like, let's say every day in regressions and then the experience that people tell me, what we call all these phenomena are basically some souls or people who are trying to pass a message. It's just they're trying to communicate. And that's it. Just communication. They need to, as you said, past life or home or heaven or whatever communicating to the material world. So don't be afraid of that. That's nothing to be afraid of.
No, absolutely not. Now, as well, doing your work, it's so expansive. Would you say that when we cross over, that the potential of where we can go to is limitless, in the sense that there's unlimited dimensions to go to? It's infinitive, in a sense. Not just like there's 10 and there's 12. Actually, there may be infinitive levels to cross to move on to.
Yeah, I would say so. It's very difficult to define, because the human mind cannot get to that. We cannot understand it. It's just impossible for us to understand it. But yes, that's my personal belief from what I see. I think that yes, there's multiple dimensions. Time, as has been almost demonstrated, does not really exist. It's been demonstrated because Einstein actually demonstrated it. There's no time, but we can't grasp it. It's just impossible.
No, and I always like to bring home the fact that we chose to come here. And it was so important for us to be here, not to get too lost on what's out there and where we go to, even though I think it's wonderful to look at these subjects because we can bring them back into present day moment and embrace them into present day moment to make this moment better now. I think that's what your work does as well. It's about making present day moment better, because the people that come see you and will see you are coming with issues, aren't they, that they just they want answers to. Maybe it's issues with things that they've never discussed with anyone else, that they carry with them, that thoughts that they carry with them, they don't understand where they come from, or whatever it may be. They come to you to heal, and your work can heal this because you're going back to your source to get the answer. Your truth is the truth that's going to fix you.
Yeah, correct. Usually, when I try to explain them how it works, it's like you can't grasp possibly everything that's there with your higher self, with your soul, but what you'll grasp, it's what you need right now. It's a past life regression, like any, well, not like any, but like many other type of therapy, is able to connect person with his higher self, with his soul, and that connection. It's just a flow of information. It's just your soul talking to you for a little while, telling you, okay, look, Kevin, I need to talk to you for a while because I think this that you're doing, you might do better in this way. It's just an advice, a piece of advice from your own higher self. That's just, you're on your path, and you just, you call home and you say, what do you think? Am I doing it right? Yeah, most of the times we are doing it right because of intuition, as I said.
Yeah, that makes me giggle. That does it. It's so true what you say. It is a phone home. It really is. And I think as well from what the work that you've done with people and so many people that you've seen and there's so many people that you will see, I think one thing it must bring home is that how powerful we really are as our true nature. That the higher self is the ultimate. It's God in a sense, isn't it? In one sense, it's the aspect of God.
Totally, it is God. We are part of God. If you ask me what God is, I would say we're God, everything is God, love is God. We're all made of love. That's all there is. As Brian says only love is real. It's the title of one of his books. And he's totally right, because only love is real. There's nothing else. And that's all we need to know. It's a lot simpler than what we think. It's just the brain overcomplicating things. But if we just think that everything is love, everything is simple.
Yes, and it's yes, absolutely, and it's do you find when you have situations in your life nowadays when things are testful in your life, do you try to come from a different space now when these things happen, and is that difficult sometimes?
Yes, absolutely. It's something that I learned, and I really try to teach people to do the same, because if something happens that we think is bad, that something is not really bad. That something is just one step towards a better ending. The universe is a lot more wise than we are. The universe, or God, you can call it as you like. But I say the universe because it's a more universal concept, and I don't like labels. So the universe, or God, knows perfectly what's good for us, and is taking us there. And sometimes this doesn't match with what we want, what the ego wants, what the human wants. So when it happens to me, I look up, it's just, I do it, and because it's conventional for me, and I say, okay, that's it. That's what you think is right. Fine, I accept it. I know it's going to get a lot better, so I trust you. Trust the universe. Trust love, because you're going to get so much out of that you can't even imagine.
That is true. And sometimes things come into dreams as well, don't they? Dreams sometimes pull in. If life is trying to get through to you and you're not listening to the signs in this reality, when you dream, I think that's just another way to put a message through to you where you will listen. Sometimes that happens.
Yes, totally. And that is also part of my background is like 4.5 years of Jungian psychoanalysis, so that has a lot to do with dreams. And I think Jung really did a great job investigating the subject. I think he was like amazing mind. He did such a good work. He helped psychologists, psychoanalysts to understand many things. And yes, dreaming is connecting to your soul also, because this can be proven, because when we're dreaming, our brain activates one type of waves, which are theta waves. Theta waves are the same waves that are active through when we do hypnosis, for example, that are active when we do meditation, when we meditate. And when we meditate, when we're in hypnosis, when we're dreaming, what we're doing basically, we're turning off a little bit of our brain, of the rational overthinking machine, and we can connect with our intuition, we can connect with our soul. So yes, dreaming is, and sometimes you can even have dreams of your own past life. I have many people coming and saying, look, I dreamed about this and that, and the information is so accurate that, of course, you have a spontaneous past life regression. You don't need a therapist to do it. You might just experience it yourself. I mean, I'm not, as I say to the people, I'm a technician. I don't have any, I just try to do my job to make you in communication with your higher self, in communication with your soul. But it's your soul doing the job. It's the soul that's healing people, not me.
Yeah, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. It really is. And for those listening to this in a podcast as well, your website's been coming on the screen, and so has your book as well, quite a few times. Just give us the website as well, where people can get in contact.
They can contact me through the website, which is terapiaregresiva.org.
Okay, and that's and that again, where they can see the services that you offer and how to contact yourself if they do wish to come see you. Yeah.
Sure. It's and website is in English, in Spanish, and Italian. So there's the three languages.
How has your work been taken in Spain as well? Are people a lot more open than you think over there, or than I think, I guess, into these subjects?
Well, nowadays, I think I got here for a purpose, because really I can see it now. Like 10 years ago, I was like, well, I don't know what I'm here. I liked it, but that was it. Now I can see, yes, people are open. I would say they are. But there's no such difference. I think Italy, Spain, and they're at the same level. They're like the UK or France. Yeah. I think people, more and more people in the world in general, are waking up and just realizing, okay, this is not it. There's more. There's a lot of people, thank God. When I started 10 years ago, as I said, I was the first one to think my friend was crazy. And, I would be worried about talking about the subject, because I knew people still think I'm crazy nowadays, but less. There's more and more people who are awakening. And this is beautiful. This is fantastic, because that means that we're connecting finally.
It's so true what you say. There is a massive shift taking place, and even just in the short 10 years, which would have seemed like a lifetime for you, but even the short 10 years that you've been doing this, you've seen a shift there. And people that were doing this work, like Brian, all these other years ago, imagine what it was like for them and what it's like now.
Yes, when I talked to Brian about this, he said, look, I have to thank the fact that I was a physician, that I was a board-certified psychiatrist. Otherwise, they wouldn't have taken me seriously. And I really agree with that, and I'm really grateful for that, because I think his work has been amazing, because he really opened millions of doors. And that was especially true because at that time, a lot worse.
Yeah. Just final question, because I know you've got to go. I know I'm way over time here, so I appreciate you giving me your time. Obviously, this is what you offer is just, it's fantastic, because it's a way for people to connect to the higher selves, which holds all the answers that you're looking for. It will never tell you what to do. It will always give you the free will, or it will just give you pinpoints to where to, to help you. But it will never give you the complete answer, because that's got to come from you. But it will help you. It will help you 100%. It will. Yeah, it loves you, and that's it. It is you. But what do you think about people that channel as well? Because it's either coming from their higher self, that channeling is, or there is something else communicating with the higher self, bringing this information through.
I think it's a combination. It's my own opinion. Huh? It's a combination. Up until a couple of years ago, I wouldn't even have believed in the idea of channeling because I was closed. I was all totally left brain. I was rational. So I'm opening up myself to the subject, and I'm opening up to the point that something weird happened in my practice the other day, and I'll tell you about it. It's really funny for me at least, but not that. Yes, I think they communicate to their higher self, but my higher self is connected to yours. It's connected to others. They're all connected in a way. Right. So channeling is absolutely possible. I mean, there's people who have the gift, and then they connect with themselves. It's easy for them to get to that sort of connection to that sort of information. So I see it as totally natural nowadays and absolutely believable and fantastic. So
it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I feel that when you channel, that you're actually connecting to your higher self. So when someone says it's something else coming through, I think sometimes there's a potential that they don't feel lovable enough, that they have that power to bring that sort of information through. So it's easier for them to say it's coming from something else when actually really it's coming from them. But that's for them to come to that conclusion, to realize that's how powerful they are. Yet again, I have to say that maybe there is sometimes on these people a separate entity. But then, as you say, if all higher selves are connected, then you can look at it from that perspective. So yeah, what you say there makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, is there really a separate entity? I don't know. I mean, are we really separate? I don't think so. The other day, let me tell you this, because it was happened to me the other day. I go to the reception of this big center where I work, and I asked the lady to sit down. She sits down. Just behind her, there's a lamp, like a floor lamp. And she sat down, I welcome her, and in the very moment I welcome her, the lamp goes on by itself. And I was like, oh, this is weird. The lamp is going on by itself. I'm like, okay, I know what it is, because I'm prepared nowadays. I'm like, a few years ago, I might not be, but nowadays, I know a lot about the subject. I was like, okay, that's what it is. And in the very moment the lamp turned on by itself, I knew that the grandfather of this girl, of this lady, was sitting next to her. I couldn't see him. I couldn't tell you what he looked like. I didn't have any message. I wasn't channeling anything, but I knew he was there. So if I can do it, as I said in my book, if I can do it with past life regression or whatever, anyone can do it. Anyone can channel, because we're all channeled together. We're all connected.
But isn't that interesting that when you say that you knew he was there, right, which most definitely he was, yeah, isn't it interesting that to look at it from this perspective? What if he came there because he wanted to learn something about from that session? Actually, you think, right, that when you've crossed over, they've got higher knowledge. What about if they don't? And what about if they're on a learning course still? And they would come to something like yours because they would learn something from it. What about if our lives were so important that they're getting something from our lives?
That is absolutely possible. I mean, we can't. It's something we cannot grasp.
No.
The explanation that I gave in that particular situation was more like he had something, as they usually do, something still to communicate, something left to say.
Right.
Apparently she did realize after that. But yeah, definitely. I mean, they might. I'm sure they're learning. I mean, the soul is learning. Even our higher self is in a learning process. We're all learning. I had one intuition in one of my meditations. This was about a year ago. And I saw ourselves as like little bubbles of light, all touching each other and all floating around like a huge planet of light. And that was light, I say light, but in this case it'll be love, it'll be energy, the only energy there is. So it's like when one bubble touches the other, when one person interacts with another, it creates a chain reaction. But eventually everything gets back to equilibrium, everything gets back to love, and we're all attracted to that. So I think we're all connected. Anything is possible, just here to learn. It's just big, huge, fantastic school. And have fun in this school. I mean, you know.
That's true. Don't forget, as you say, remind people, fun, laugh. You know, it's not, again, this interview is a little bit serious because we're trying to get quite a bit in a short time, but you know, let's not forget that. Fun and laughter, that's what it's about as well. You're not here to be completely serious. Spirit isn't serious.
No, Spirit has a great time on Earth because we can experience the five senses. I mean, it's like going to an amusement park for the Spirit to be here. So enjoy it. Don't complain because the attraction is not good enough. Just ride it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love that. And okay, what would you say then is an important message right now for the audience about your work?
Okay, an important message will be trust your inner self, trust your intuition. Don't over question things, just let it flow. Just if you know something is right and you know inside of yourself, there's no need of thinking over things. Just do it. If it's for the good of yourself and other people, if it's for good, just do it. Don't think too much about it. Because as I said, most of our problems, most of the anxiety that I see professionally is due to the brain, it's due to overthinking. So just don't think too much, people. Live.
Well, okay. Well, you know, I've really enjoyed this, Alex, and all I'm going to say is, Alex Raco, thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a real honor to have you on. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you to all the people who are watching us or watching you. You do a great job. You really open up people. You really give the opportunity of discovering things. I wish I would have watched a show like yours about 10 or 15 years ago. Thank you. Thank you all.
Well, we've come to an end on tonight's show. Don't forget that you can listen and watch all our past interviews on the More Show's official YouTube channel. Remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel for new daily shows. You may also find out more on all past and upcoming guests by going to themoreshow.com. And do like us on Facebook and Twitter for the latest updates. So until next time, be safe.